Thank you for that warm reception. But please don't stand for me. I'm nothing more than a humble public servant, and I'm here to serve the general public as all of you are. And so I truly, truly want to thank you. I also want to thank you in advance of St. Patrick's Day. They refer to me as Letitia Jameson on St. Patrick's Day. Yes, Letitia Jameson, and I look forward to marching in all the St. Patrick's Day parades. We already had two back in New York City in the Rockaways, which is known as the Irish Riviera. Yes, as well as in parts of Queens. And now I'm looking forward to march down Fifth Avenue on Thursday. So I thank you on behalf of the Irish in me. Thank you so much. I want to take this moment to thank all of you for your leadership, your courage, for your partnership that you have showed. I want to thank Mark for standing in for me for a few minutes. I appreciate him. He's truly a great friend, and it shows bipartisanship. We may not agree on everything, but we agree that we are here to get things done and to address the general public. And so I thank you for dancing for a little minute or two. And I want to thank all of you, especially over the past 2 years as we have battled a pandemic that claimed the lives of too many. And we shut down businesses and cost people their lives and their homes and their livelihood. And I don't know about you, I've attended my fair share of funerals. I've held too many mothers and fathers in front of open caskets. And it's truly been a tragedy. I also want to thank the Albany County Executive Dan McCoy, my other good friend, and the president of the New York State County Executives Association, Mark Molinaro. And I want to congratulate my very good friend, the Westchester County Executive, George Latimer, on his award. Where's George? Thank you. And I want to thank the leadership of the New York State Association of Counties, your president, Martha Sobereri. I hope I said that correctly. Oh, what is it? Sauerbry. I'm going to make sure I get that right. And your executive director, Steve Acquario. I said that right.
That's good.
It's good. How do you say Aquario? There you go, Aquario. There. You didn't tell me. And I want to thank the entire membership of the New York State County Association. We are so fortunate to have 62 beautiful counties in our state, and the people of those counties are fortunate to have dedicated public servants working for them. We've all seen that with renewed urgency during the pandemic. It challenged local governments in ways we've never known. And the story of this pandemic that hasn't been told is that when the crisis hit, counties, all of you in this room, you led the way. You led on health care, maintaining and financing public health infrastructure, monitoring testing and educating the public on masks and social distancing, and providing and coordinating the purchase of protective equipment. And I know your budgets are busting, and I know Medicaid costs are through the roof. And I stand with all of you in urging the state government to assist you in any way that they could, particularly at a time when they are negotiating the state budget. Can you hear me, state legislature? Yeah. You led on emergency responses, maintaining and staffing 911 systems, and you led on providing services for families and children and seniors and small businesses. And as you all know, the opioid crisis and the pandemic, they basically fed off of one another, creating more damage and more loss of life. And counties have also been leaders and partners in our fight against opioid. As was mentioned, the horrors of opioids are not news in this room. You have seen them up close and personal. You have driven through communities ravaged by drugs. You have counseled families watching a loved one sink into despair. And you have visited too many homes to offer your condolences and your prayers. And you also understand the big picture, that over the past 2 decades, nearly 1 million Americans have lost their lives from overdoses. 1 million of our fellow Americans. That's the equivalent, my friends, of the entire population of the city of San Francisco. Just ponder that for a moment. And the pandemic made it worse. During COVID, our nation experienced the highest levels of overdose deaths ever. And you know that it didn't have to be this way. It It's a catastrophe of callous and corporate greed, individuals who are only concerned about the bottom line, who put their profits above people. But about 6 years ago, something important happened. With the crisis of opioids covering our state, dozens of New York counties, you basically said enough. And you sued Big Pharma for its role in creating the opioid crisis and destroying families, and destroying lives. And I joined you in that battle with all the tools at my disposal. In 2019, as you all know, as was just mentioned by Steve, my office initiated the largest lawsuit ever to hold opioid manufacturers and distributors accountable for their role in the opioid crisis. And in October, I was able to travel across our state in our big bus. I visited 19 counties to stand with so many of you to announce that we were delivering up to $1.5 billion to New Yorkers. And so I guess you're asking the question, because I hear it and I see it on your face, when are we going to see the money, Tish? This is New York. Well, I'm happy to report that the first funds from our settlement are going to counties this month. And thanks to the tireless work of this association and our state legislature, I know I can hear some of you, yeah, show me, all right? It'll be this month. Thanks to the tireless association of all of you in this room and the state legislature, those funds will be placed in a locked box, and these funds will not get lost somewhere in Albany. They will not be caught up in a lot of bureaucracy. They are coming straight to your counties. And the money we force a Big Pharma to pay will go to addiction prevention and education and treatment and beds and salaries and for Narcan, solely to address this crisis and nothing else. And New Yorkers will see this money in action in their own communities. You'll see increased distribution and training in life-saving drugs to reverse opioid overdoses. And you'll see increased opioid prevention in our local schools. You'll see increased treatment for women, pregnant women, individuals who are incarcerated, people who come to our hospitals, individuals in the throes of mental illness. You will see those monies, you will feel those monies, and you will distribute those funds. You'll see those funds up and down the Hudson, from the North County to the Hudson Valley, to the 5 boroughs and Long Island. You'll see these funds along the Southern Tier and through Western New York. You'll see these funds in the Finger Lakes in Central New York and the Mohawk Valley. There's no amount of money, as was said, that can make up for the loss of life, none whatsoever. And I pray for all of those who lost their lives and their families. But I hope and I pray that these painfully large settlements will teach future drug manufacturers to work in the public interest and not their own. And to let them know that if they ever try to do this again, they'll come up against the Association of Counties as well as this Attorney General. I will stand with you and use the law. Because as everyone knows, all that I do is wake up each and every day with this fire in my belly. And the first question that I ask is, who am I suing today? So I want to talk a little bit more about some other priorities that we've been working on. My office keeps New Yorkers safe from fraud that reached record levels during the pandemic. There were all kinds of scams on the internet. They were focusing on our veterans, focusing on senior citizens, individuals who were socially isolated. We took on companies that price gouged essential goods and preyed on vulnerable communities throughout the state. And one case in particular I'm pretty proud of is we sued an egg company because we heard that food was being price gouged, in particular meat and eggs. So we sued one of the nation's largest egg manufacturers and distributors of eggs. The name of the company is called Hillendale. And they raised the cost of eggs during the first 5 months of the pandemic, charging families up to 5 times the pre-pandemic price. As a result of our efforts, because I want settlements to be more creative, getting funds are good, but I want to make sure that we use settlement funds in a more creative fashion. And so as a result, we donated 1.2 million eggs to food pantries all across the state of New York. And these eggs went to support vulnerable families in counties from Long Island to New York City to Westchester to the Hudson Valley and Central and Western New York. We also stepped up when businesses canceled events. I know a number of you wanted to go to see a couple of concerts, and those concerts were canceled. We sued a number of organizations that were sponsoring events and then canceled them and refused to refund the funds. And so whether it be event venues, individuals who were getting married, and then the event space was canceled and they refused to return their funds, or even concerts, we have returned millions of dollars to New Yorkers throughout the state. We've also taken action more recently to stop those testing centers, testing centers that you've seen all throughout the state that have advertised that they can deliver results within 24 hours, when in fact, the results oftentimes take weeks on end. Well, we have written letters to a number of them because they have misrepresented COVID test turnaround times. And as a result, they have taken down those false advertising and have delivered tests on time to countless number of New Yorkers all across the state. Housing. Housing has also been a significant issue both before, during, and after the pandemic. And we have taken on bad landlords for their negligence. In Erie County and Onondaga County and the counties of New York City, we've sued bad landlords for allowing illegal and unhealthy lead paint conditions to persist, particularly putting seniors and children at risk. My office has worked to preserve, to protect, and to build affordable housing. Since I've took office, we have awarded tens of millions of dollars to counties, municipalities, not-for-profit organizations, and land banks to protect and expand affordable housing development, and to address conditions in manufactured homes and zombie homes, and code enforcement issues, and deed theft, and more. Because every New Yorker should have a safe and decent place to call home. But we must also address the economic issues that are hurting New Yorkers. I've joined with labor, and we were able to get back millions of dollars for hardworking New Yorkers whose salaries were stolen, wage theft, which is a major issue in the state of New York. And as a result, we were able to get millions of dollars back to hardworking New Yorkers who were victims of wage theft. We've also are dealing with the student loan crisis that for far too many young people are struggling with. In January, we secured a $1.85 billion judgment from the student loan company known as Navient, N-A-V-I-E-N-T. I know a number of you in this room have student loans from your children through Navient. We sued them for deceptive business practices, and we are taking unprecedented action with the legislature to ease the financial burden that our SUNY students are struggling with. I don't know if you know that the Office of Attorney General is also a collection agency for SUNY. We collect student loans from students. I've told the state legislature I'm not in the business of serving as a collector of student loans. And the fine on students all across this state is 12%. And so I've asked the legislature to address this issue, to reduce that amount, to provide some relief for students in the state of New York, to give them more loan forgiveness programs in the state of New York, to provide assistance to students in the state of New York, so that I could have more room to negotiate with these students if I'm going to be in the loan collection business, which I do not want to be in. But SUNY, there was, as a result of an MOU, SUNY and some attorney general, one of my predecessors, entered into this MOU and transferred those powers to the Office of Attorney General. And I'm talking to the state legislature right now about addressing some of the issues related to the collection practices of the Office of Attorney General so that we can provide relief to students in the state of New York. Finally, I've got to ease their financial burden and the burden of their parents, because I know so many SUNY students are struggling with financial burden, and we have a responsibility to address that. Finally, I want to talk about public safety and what we are doing to crack down on the violent crime and gun trafficking in our state. In 2021, we hosted 19 gun buybacks with local law enforcement agencies all throughout the state. And as a result, as of today, we have recovered more than 2,100 guns in just 1 year alone. We have also continued to crack down on gun trafficking and drug trafficking networks that are pumping these dangerous substances into our community. And we are working with ATF and other law enforcement agencies all along the iron pipeline to address gun trafficking in our state. Recently, as most of you know, we met with President Biden, and we are committed, again, to addressing this issue and also to working together collaboratively with all of these government and law enforcement agencies in the years to come. On behalf of the people of the state of New York, who it is my honor and my privilege to serve each and every day, I want to thank the members of this great organization, the New York State Association of Counties, for all that you do, and especially for the crucial role you play in bringing out this victory. Let's hope that this is the dawning of a new day. Let's hope that we don't have to bury any more children. Let's hope that your budgets will go down. And then let's hope that you'll get assistance from Albany. Let's hope that we can all work together across political lines. Let's hope that we are united as one, because we represent the great state of New York. Thank you, and God bless you.